Good morning, students. It's Miss Ayala. I'm going to be working with you today on part-whole word problem structures. Now, before I can even begin, I have to talk to you about what that is. Part-whole word problem structure is a structure that explains certain type of word problems. Now, a word problem structure that is a part-whole has no action. A part-whole has no action in the word problem. So nothing happens in it. No one joins a group. You don't buy a t-shirt. You don't eat any cookies. Birds don't fly away. Nothing happens that would cause you to be able to act out any kind of action at all. Part-whole problems are just pictures. It's a still picture you can see and figure out the unknown just from that. So let me give you some examples of that. Now, in a part-whole, you're going to have an unknown. In any word problem that you have, you're going to have an unknown because you have to have an unknown in order for it to be a word problem. If there was no question at the end of it, it would just be a math story, and that's not what we're doing in math. We're trying to solve problems, so we have to have an unknown. So the unknown is what you're trying to solve. It's the answer to your word problem. Normally, you'll see it as an empty box or a question mark in your problem. Now, in a part-whole problem, you only have two options for your unknowns. The two options will be either the part is going to be unknown or the whole is going to be unknown. So let's take a look at our word problem structure for our part-whole. Let's see. You have one part down here at the bottom. You have the other part down here at the bottom. Part and part equal the whole. Notice how the length of this part and that part are the same as the length of that entire whole. And it makes sense. Let's just say, for example, that you have 5 as a part. And on this side, let's say we had the number 3 as a part. Well, could you figure out your whole, class? Absolutely. Your whole would be 8. Because 5 and 3, those two parts, make up the whole of 8. Okay, but let's say, for example, what if in our word problem they gave us the whole as 12, and they only gave us one part, and they said one part was 3. Can you figure out your other part? Absolutely you could, because remember what we said. We said that part plus part equals the whole. So I can look at it in two ways. I can say that I have question mark plus 3 equals my 12. And I'd have to figure out what goes in that question mark. And because I know all my related facts, I know exactly what fits there, the only number that would fit there. Now, to solve it, I could easily subtract 12 minus 3. In class, what is 12 minus 3? Excellent. It is 9. So I figured out my part was 9. So back here, my unknown, my part unknown that I had right here as my question mark, I can easily go back in and put the number 9 because 9 plus 3 equals 12. Excellent. Okay, now let's try some. There are two types of really important equations that you're going to have to know for each of your word problem structure. Each of them have two types of equations. One is the situation equation, and the other is the solution equation. Now, the situation equation, you see how Miss Ayala put it in red, the S, the I, and the T. The situation equation is just how the numbers sit in the word problem. You write it exactly as you see it in your problem. And the solution equation is the easy one. That's how you solve it. So you have two equations, the situation equation and the solution equation. Let me show you in the next word problem the difference between the two. Okay, look at our word problem. And remember, Miss Ayala loves to do mind movies. So, of course, first step on a mind movie is that we're going to read it. So everybody read it once. Okay, Second step is to make the mind movie. This is when you read it a second time, and in your mind, you visualize exactly what it's saying. So, I'm going to read it to you. Think about your mind movie. Ariana has 37 yellow crayons and 26 green crayons. How many crayons does Ariana have in all? Okay, you saw it in your mind. You saw the movie. Our next step is to determine what kind of structure we need to draw for this problem. Now, since this is our first structure that I'm introducing to you, you know you're going to be using a part-part-whole structure. And you know that because as you're reading your problem and you saw your movie, really nothing happened. Nobody did anything. Ariana didn't go anywhere. She didn't buy any crayons. She didn't lose any crayons. Nothing happened. All you saw was a picture of Ariana sitting down in your movie. She was sitting down and she had crayons in front of her. That's it. So I knew that since there was no action, it was going to be a part-part-whole. So my structure that I needed to make sure I drew for this word problem was a part-part-whole structure. The next step in my mind movie is to use my numbers. So let's go through the problem and let's figure out exactly how I'm going to use my numbers. So let's go straight to our problem and let's see. Ariana has 37 yellow crayons and 26 green crayons. How many crayons does Ariana have in all? Okay, look at your word problem. Do you have your parts? Do you have your whole? Okay, so which one are we looking for here? That's right, we're looking for our whole. Our whole is our unknown. We have both parts. And let's label that because that's my next step. It's part of my numbers. I have to make sure I label my structure. So this part I'm going to label yellow. And this part I need to label green. Now how many yellow crayons did she have? Good, 37. How many green crayons? 26. Good. Now, once you put your numbers in your strip diagram, when you stick it in your structure, you see right away what you have to do in order to solve it. So if I have 37 and I have 26 and I'm looking for this whole, class, what am I supposed to do with those two numbers? Absolutely right. You are supposed to add those numbers together. So let's do that. Knowing that I have two equations that I need to write down first, I'm going to go back to my problem and see which numbers sat where, because my situation equation is where my numbers sit. So I started with the 37, and so I know that and means a plus sign, and the 26 crayons. How many crayons does she have in all? Okay, so I have figured out my situation equation because I'm going to go exactly how the numbers sit. So my situation equation is going to be this. 37 plus 26 equals my question mark. Because that's exactly how the numbers sit. That is my situation equation. Now, to solve my problem, I have to figure out my solution equation. So my solution equation is how I would solve it. Well, in a part-part whole, if I'm looking for my parts, my situation equation and my solution equation are the same. I still have to add 37 plus 26 to get my answer. So my solution matched my situation equation. So let's solve for that. We need to figure out how many crayons Ariana has in all. So let's do that. Now, should I do my addition horizontally like this, or should I do it vertically? Absolutely right. I should rewrite that, and I should rewrite it vertically. I need to make sure that I'm doing it correctly, so I want to make sure my place values are lined up. So 37, 26. And we knew we are doing which operation, class? That's right. We are adding, and we know we're adding because we had both parts, and we're trying to figure out our whole. So let's do this together. Where do we start when we're adding? Absolutely right, the ones place. What is 7 plus 6? Yes, good, 13. But am I going to write the number 13 down here? No, you're absolutely right. I can't do that. I can't put 13 there. How am I going to do this? What am I supposed to do? Good, regroup. I need to regroup. So when I regroup, I place my 3 in my 1's place, and I regroup my 10 into the 10's place. So now I can add my 10's place. I have 3 plus 2 plus 1. How much is that? Excellent, 63. So the sum is 63. Now I have to go back and I want to write it in a complete sentence because that is how I can show my teacher I read carefully and I knew exactly what the question asked me. So I'm going to go back to my question. It said, how many crayons did Ariana have in all? Okay, so I'm going to write out Ariana had, how many, class? Good. 63 crayons in all. Perfect. That is how you go through a part whole. Now here's the big question. What was my unknown in this problem? What was I looking for? What was my unknown? What did I not have? Perfect. This problem was definitely a whole unknown problem. And I know that because I had both of my parts. Excellent. Okay, well, let's try the second one. Let's see what unknown this second problem is. Okay, let's go through our mind movie steps. Read the problem all the way through. Okay, step 2, we reread the problem, and this is when we create our mind movie. So I'll read it to you. Create your movie. Let's look. There are 63 kids in the gym. 34 are girls, and the rest are boys. How many kids are boys? Okay, did you see your mind movie? Okay. Did anybody leave? No. Did any new students join the gym class? Nope. Nothing like that happened. So was there any action in this problem? No. Excellent. So we know it's a part-whole problem. No action whatsoever. So it was a static relationship. Static relationship means it was still like a picture. Nothing happened. So since it's a part-whole problem, we're going to think to ourselves, what is my unknown? So let's look at our problem. We did step 1, step 2. Step 3 is structures. We just figured out that it was a part-whole because there's no action. Step 4 is our numbers. It's putting in our numbers, putting in our labels. So let's do that. We have our strip diagram down here. So let's start and let's label. So let's see what we have. Go through our word problem. There are 63 kids in the gym. 34 are girls. And the rest, oh, wait a minute. The rest, is rest a number? No, absolutely not. Rest is not a number. So for rest, what do you think I should put in place? Great job. I should draw a question mark for rest because rest is not a number. The rest were boys. Okay. Question asks, how many kids are boys? All right. Now, let's go to our word problem structure because we're supposed to put in our labels. That's how it's going to make it so easy for me is if I put in all my labels. So I've got the number 63, talking about kids in the gym. I have the number 34, talking about my girls. And I had that question mark there, talking about my boys. So what are my two parts? Excellent. My two parts are girls and boys. Okay. What is my whole? Perfect. My whole are the kids. All the kids that are in the gym. Okay? So now I put in my labels. Let's put in my numbers. Do I know how many girls I have? I sure do. How many? Good. 34. We have 34 girls. And do we know our boys? No, we don't. That's our unknown. So what should I put in that box? Good. The question mark. Do I know how many kids total I have? I do. It's what? Good. 63. Okay. Now remember what Miss Ayala told you is that each word problem structure will have two equations. A situation equation and a solution equation. So we need to figure out both equations for this problem. Now the situation equation, it's how the numbers sit. So let's look at our word problem and we're going to figure out how our numbers sit. What number did we see first? 63. Okay, so we saw 63 first. And that was my what? Right, that was my whole. That's why I put it up on top. That's my whole. So that means that the part plus part equaled the whole. So that's my whole. I'm going to put my equal sign there because that was my whole. Now, let's keep going. What's my next number? Good, 34. Okay. 34 are girls, and remember what that end? It tells me plus, because my part plus my part equals my whole. So then it's 34 plus, and what do I put next? Good, the question mark. Absolutely right, the question mark, because that was my unknown. Now this looks a little different because it starts with the sum, but either way I write it, it's correct. Because this side of my problem is the same as this side because that's what my equal sign means. So if I'm doing my situation equation, it started with 63. So I'm allowed to write 63 on the left-hand side. Let's show both ways. Both ways. If my situation equation can also be written 34 plus question mark equals 63. Both of those are my situation equation. Because it's how the numbers sit in my problem. All right, now let's do our solution equation. How are we going to solve that? So our solution equation, we knew from our part whole that we had 63 here, we had our question mark here, and we had our 34 here. So how are we going to solve for that? Our solution equation is how we solve the problem. So I knew I had 63 as my whole, and this plus this gave me 63. But I'm trying to find my part. So how would I find my part? What operation should I use to find my part? Good job. Yes, of course. I'm going to take my total and subtract the part that I know. So 63 minus 34. For me to subtract, where do I have to start? Excellent, in the ones place. Always start in the ones place. And I know when I'm subtracting, I always have to start with the bigger number on top. So 63 is a greater number, so I wrote 63 minus 34. Starting in my ones place, I have 3 minus 4. Can I do 3 minus 4? Can I subtract like that? No, absolutely not. What am I going to have to do? That's right, regroup. I have to regroup. So what I have to do is get more ones. So in order for me to regroup to have more ones, I'm going to go to the tens place. When I go to the tens place, there's 6 tens there. So I'm going to ask and get regrouped from that 6 tens, and I'm going to take 1 from the 6 tens. If I take 1 from 6, it leaves me 5 tens. Now, I'm regrouping the tens, so I'm going to move my tens over to my ones place. I have 3 there already. So what is 10 plus 3? Good, 13. So I regrouped, and now I have 13 ones. Can I do 13 minus 4? Absolutely. What is it? Good, 9. 13 minus 4 is 9. So now I'm done my ones place. Let's go to my tens place. What is 5 minus 3? Good, 2. So my answer is 29. The solution to my problem is 29. Now let's go back, because in our mind movie we had to do the numbers, then we solved. Step 5 was solve, and number 6, step 6 in our mind movie is to answer the question in words. So let's do that. Let's answer our question in words. So we figured out the situation equation, the solution equation. Now I just want to put my answer in words. So going back to my question, my original problem, my question was, how many kids are boys? So we figured it out. How many kids were boys? Good, 29. So then let's answer it in a complete sentence. There were 29 boys. Period. Good job. So in this problem, we figured out how many boys we had left. So if we figured out how many boys we had left, let's take a look at our word problem structure, because when we had labeled it, we knew that we had girls, we had boys, and we had kids. We knew the number of kids, which was 63. We knew the number of girls, which was 34. And we were looking for our boys. So what was our unknown in this problem? Absolutely, it was the part unknown. That's why our question mark was there. This was a part unknown question. Excellent job. Okay, well, we've learned part whole is a word problem structure that has no action. It's a still picture. It's a static relationship because nothing happens. Nothing changes. Nothing gets taken. Nothing gets added. Nobody joined anything. You didn't buy a shirt. Nothing happened. No action. It's like a picture. And we learned that a part whole has a part and a part that equal the whole. That's why our strip diagram is drawn the way that it is. We also learned that there are 2 equations in a part whole. Who remembers what they are? Good. Yes. We have a situation equation. We have a situation equation, and that's how the numbers sit in your word problem. And we have a solution equation, and that's just how you solve it. So we have our 2 equations for each word problem structure. All right, guys, now it's your turn to practice. Go have some math fun.